Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the third episode of Season 4 of the Warwick Zoom Garden Plot. Ta-da! On tonight's agenda, we'll have some introductions. If anybody's new and wants to say hello, they're welcome to say hello. Then we'll have garden updates from Chad and Mark. A couple announcements, not as many as last time. A couple show and tell pictures, and a Q&A. There are a couple new people here. Carmen, I see you're new. Do you want to say hello? And I try to take attendance, and I see someone else is joining us with you there. Who else is there with us you today? Oh, you're on mute.
So, my name is Carmen. My husband, he's coming right now, just to begin, is Joey, and our son is Micah. How are you?
We're all doing well. How old is Micah?
He's gonna be 10 years old in May.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very good. And Colleen, I think you've been around a couple times, but not so much. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's been a while. I'm actually in the city today. And I have been out and about. I'm still considering myself a brand new gardener. I just started in 2020 in Warwick. We have a small garden, and just thought I would pop in and see what's going on, see what I can learn.
Perfect. You've come to the right place.
Great.
So so thanks for the introductions. And now we will jump right into Chad's presentation about, oops, it's not the Warwick Community Garden. I'm sorry about that, Chad. It is the Greenwood Lake Common Ground Garden. And I want to just clarify for everyone. The garden is in the village of Greenwood Lake. It's not in the lake itself. Just don't want anyone confused about that. And 1,000 apologies for not having fixed that, Chad. I thought I got it.
Okay.
Go ahead. What you got here?
I apologize because I am the worst picture taker. I don't know how I managed to never capture the essence of any part of the garden or anything that I'm trying to shoot, but I'm really not good at it. I'm not Instagram ready.
Mm-hmm.
I do want, well, you can see in one little spot, we created a hoop house this year. One of our members built a hoop house, which has been very exciting.
That's in a later picture. Do you want
that's okay later. Yeah, I don't remember what I got.
Can you see what's on screen now?
Yes. So I'm just showing right there. We have a bunch of strawberries. We planted a lot of strawberries last year as ground cover. So as you see, it is spreading quite nicely, and I'm hoping to, cover a few beds, and we kind of have like a lot of beds surrounding the outside of the garden, and I'd love to have strawberries all around there. And as well, we have some chives that survived the winter quite well, and we've been utilizing those. Let me move that. I think I have spaces right, and again, just more strawberries. Basically, that's for those two pictures. You go to the next slide. And we did a big planting on Saturday. We did, a lot of cleanup, weeding, try to use, we had a lot of stinging dead nettles. Some people came along and utilized those, hopefully made some tea, etc. In the bottom here, you see we have garlic that we planted at the end of last year, all growing nicely. I'm going to plant, I always want to do more, but I seems to sneak up on me. But next year, I think I'm going to plant like 20 times more garlic. Why not? And on the top here, we planted a lot of seedlings we put in that we started in the hoop house. Swiss chard, kale, broccoli, lettuce, carrots, beets, spice seed, radish, and I think a few other things. So, cilantro.
Did you start carrots inside and transplant?
No. Those we put by seed. But there's little. I can't tell which one. They're all the same when they're so tiny. And then here we have we originally thought it was a pawpaw, but it's really a plum cherry tree that's growing very nicely. Someone came and told us that's not a pawpaw. I was like, oh,
no,
just
it's not a
when I got it as a stick basically. So now it's growing enough too, but that doesn't look like a pawpaw.
How
But we
did,
do have 2 little pawpaws growing, and they're very tiny.
how did you acquire this tree?
At Black Creek Farm a few years ago. Someone was Eric Schnellenberger or something. I'm really bad with names, and I can't remember exactly where it was located, but he donated persimmon, plum cherries, pawpaw, false indigo, like a lot of, a lot of very nice stuff that, and we're going to see how it's going to grow. Again, our garden is, I wish I would have followed Dorothy's idea of planting the trees in a raised bed, because, we do have a very high water table in our lot. So I'm hoping these trees don't drown eventually. So it's all an experiment. See how they do. And we're trying to plant more and more perennials in this garden. I'm picking up some asparagus in the next day or 2. We put artichokes. I don't know if they're going to come back up, but we did that. And again, we have a lot of
Do you mean-
balm.
Do you mean Jerusalem artichokes?
No, artichokes.
Oh,
And we have Jerusalem artichokes also in buckets. Again, I learned a lesson not to have those just randomly placed, because they will take over quite extensively. Okay, you can go to the next slide.
oops.
Oh, and I got someone's not a great shot of buttock. Probably be mad at me if they saw that. And there's a really nice hoop house. Again, we barely finished it. So like, next year I'm hoping to utilize it a lot more, but it's fantastic. And then we're kind of figuring out as we go, because of course the day we finished it, it was like 90 degrees. So it's like, I feel bad. The Gillian, who's sitting over in the corner there, finished it. Then I'm like, oh, by the way, could we find a way to raise up the edges? Because, all of a sudden it's like 120 degrees in there. And, we have a little walkway in the middle. You see a cardboard. We could probably make something a little bit nicer looking.
So on the
And-
left is inside the hoop house.
Yeah, sorry, inside the hoop house. So we have seeds starting in the ground, and then we're kind of transplanting them into, I'm thinking of, hopefully we could put some type of shelves hanging on the inside cow paneling. So then I could lift up these transplants off the ground so we could plant more things in the ground. But things are starting to come up nicely, and it's closed for tonight. It's supposed to drop down very low. So I'm hoping tomatoes and peppers will be fine during that. And again, unlike Sarah, who seems to be incredibly organized, I keep on mapping everything out. And then I keep on planning stuff all over the place. And then before I know it, everything's all over. I have to redo the maps and just try to remember where things are. Because I'm like, I'm going to fit this. I could fit parsley, and I'm going to put that in. Like I just have tomato and this labeled, and I'm very organized. But then someone donates peppers, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to put those in. And I have celery I grew also. So it's I've yet, but hopefully someone joined the garden that I think is a little more organized than I am. But that would be nice. But the hoop house is a really big addition this year. And as I was telling Sarah, we're trying a new model this year. We're going to be open to everyone this year. Last year we had a membership. I know people who have existing community gardens are waiting with one eyebrow raised to see how it goes. But we're going to have, set work days, Saturday mornings and Wednesday evenings. And, anyone could come by and join, anyone could harvest, anyone could, again, we're not going to be membership based, hopefully, we're going to find some fundraising situations or donations, but we're not going to rely, so we're just hoping to be open to all, to really encourage people to collect food. And again, we are in a residential block, so we do have to be aware. We've been doing a few, I probably should have put, we did something with the the elementary school where they planted peas all around there. Then we had some scouts. I guess they were running around a little bit last time, so the neighbors weren't that happy with us, but I have to try to keep them in control. Yeah, they're not big fans of our community garden. I don't know if there's any more pictures, or is that it, I think?
I think that's it.
That's it. I don't know if anyone has any questions or.
Yeah, let's back up. Go for the questions.
So Chad, can you stand up in that hoop house?
Yeah, it's taller than my shortness. Probably I'm trying to, yeah,
Is
6 foot something. Yeah, yeah, you can stand up in there pretty comfortably.
Is
But
it
it's
movable?
funny, I'm always sitting, so I never even thought about it. I'm always crouching down, but I can stand.
So is it movable?
No, no, it's a big, it's pretty
So-
big.
All right, so it's outside the fence.
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, we
Nice.
covered, again, a lot of, kind of a lot of stuff with our garden, we kind of did it on the like on the run, like our first year, we started gardening before we even had the fence built. So we had to kind of approximate where we thought the fence was gonna be.
Right.
Pretty funny. And then, we were pretty close. And then, I did have plans for the hoop house. But, that we never got to it last year, the year before. And then I'm like, we did, that's about the last spot we could fit any, that's where we get a lot of sun. Because after that, there's
Right.
trees and that'd be
Right.
shaded. So, it's great when you have an idea, then you see it visualized. It's
It's
quite,
great. You know,
I'm
what
not handy at all.
what you could do, there's that site, free, Warwick, Greenwood Lake, Pine Island, website, Facebook group.
Oh, yeah. The
So
plant swap.
sometimes people have shelving. You could put, just put some shelving in there.
Yeah, and some hooks, like, you could just hook it on. Right, yeah.
I don't know about hooking it onto the wire. I would get actual shelving, maybe wire shelving. Or there's that event coming up.
Too good to toss.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah?
that event, that big
Oh, yeah.
swap event. Maybe you could get someone, if there's some wire shelving to put it aside.
Yeah, no, and it's gonna be a lot earlier this year, right? It's too good to toss in May.
Yeah,
May,
20th
usually-
and 21st.
right.
Yes, again, I'm not, hopefully, I've asked other people, I'm just not too proficient with building things, so however, however someone wants to put a shelf in, I just say yes. There's our garden.
Nice.
Can I ask a question? You mentioned celery. How do you start that? Does it have to be from seeds?
I started it from seed, but I mean, you can go and, I'm sure at some point, you can buy it from and transplant it as we go. I mean, last year we had really, it's funny, different years I tried different stuff and we got some nice celery and it was quite, kept on producing, cut it. And I kind of got into it. So,
It's
Like- sorry.
it's not easy to grow.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm saying I never had success. Like last year I was just, I don't know what happened. It just, a lot of celery grew. So I kind of just, like I started a million seeds. Like I'm just gonna see what starts and what doesn't. So
Mhm.
like, and then try to figure out what to do with it if they all do grow. So it's
Yeah,
like, I had all
yeah.
these seeds.
You started in like January or February.
Oh,
And-
see, I guess I started too late.
No, but I mean, that's when I was buying them from a master gardener because I started parsley from seed. But I don't know if anywhere you can actually buy celery seedlings. I've asked around.
Mm,
The other thing is when it's growing, ours was terrible last year because how dry it was. Like for you, it's a great location because you have a lot of moisture. But
Yeah,
if your celery needs sun, but it also needs constant moisture to be tasty. Ours was kind of bitter last year, but it's a good thing to do. It's a challenge. Go for it. Congrats. Congrats,
I
Dan.
think Corwin's has some celery,
Really?
Corwin's?
Oh yeah, I know
Mhm.
Corns. I'll go
Yeah,
look.
I guess
Huh.
last year, again, I kind of just I make my beautiful map, which has nothing to do with celery. And then I have celery, then I'm like, all right, I'm gonna put celery in these 5 spaces between the strawberries. And then, like, again, the year before, they did not do well at all, but last year we had a few of them grew really nicely. And I just kept putting
Yeah,
Is it
them
an
one year-
annual? Is it an
Sorry?
annual?
Annual, yeah.
And-
Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
I tried even covering it for the winter. It can't take our winter.
Mm, Okay.
Like we had some really tasty celery a couple years. So
Okay.
go for it.
Before
right,
we
thank
before
you.
we
I'm
go
sorry.
back to Mark's presentation, Bill isn't here, so I'm going to throw in something on his behalf. When he shows his greenhouse, one of the things he does, and this is sort of his personal thing, is he'll have those plastic jugs
Mm.
filled with water, and they get warm and they hold the heat. So it will, he leaves them right down by the plants, and it's, it just adds some heat to the hoop house, to the
But it's
greenhouse.
funny, but since we built the hoop house, it's been like every day I have to just literally open up. Like I have a big jug of water. I was going to do that, figuring it's going to be cold, like it's been the last day or two. But since we built it, we've literally had, 65 degrees, 75, 80 degrees. So it's hasn't been anything that I've needed to do. So
We're
probably
gonna
maybe at the end of the season.
We're going to discuss the weather later today. I've got a couple of interesting charts about that. But for the moment, let's switch over to Mark and Mark's garden. And Mark, this is your personal garden, but it's not at your home. Is that right?
Well, this is that's my plot, the one in the forefront, but that's at the Town of Montgomery Community Garden. So I have 3 plots there. Well, I work 3 plots with my wife and our neighbor Eileen and a friend of mine, Lynn. And this is one of the plots that the plots there are 20 by 20. This one, except for one row, and this is a 20 by 30 plot. So this was my original plot. This was the first plot I took when I started going there in 2017. And I put in raised beds. I like beds and paths. To keep everything neat, and I don't like trampling on the soil. I like to keep moving the soil to a minimal amount. So so you can see the 2 raised beds I put in about 4 or 5 years ago. And then in the back, that big green, that's called that's a 30, I think it's a 32-inch raised bed, and it's by a company called Vega. It's like Lego, but it's Vega Garden. And the idea behind it is it's metal. It's a coated metal. It'll never rust. It'll last forever. And it comes in sections, so they give you like 8 or 10 configurations. You can configure it, so you don't have to make it. You could make it a circle. You could make it all different shapes. I put that in last year, and I've just been trying to fill it right now because it takes a humongous amount of stuff to fill. So I put in wood, leftover clippings from the garden, it's garden scraps, leaves, and I'm about maybe 3/4 filled by the time it's settled. So I'm going to have to add to it, and I'll just throw some cover crop on top of it for this year and turn it into enrich the soil. And in the forefront there, if you see, there's so in the corners, what I'm going to have is alyssum. If in the far corner there's a red container, and 3 of the corners.
You have some other pictures. Should we go on to the other pictures?
Oh yeah. Okay, sure. It might be easier to see with those other pictures. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a better picture. Yeah, this gives. Okay, so that's the bed in front, one of the beds, and you can see I planted Austrian winter peas in there maybe 3 weeks ago, and I put a ton of them down there, and they're starting to come up. That's going to be used as a cover crop. It's going to enrich that soil. To the left, the beds are going to be in the forefront. You can see a comfrey in there. That in the top left-hand picture, there's a comfrey, and then I'm going to put 2 rose bushes on either side of that, and maybe some dianthus between the comfrey and the edge there. You can see those green metal structures. That's where I'm going to put my pepper plants. This bed here is basically, and I have herbs in the back. So this bed's a mixture of flowers, herbs, and vegetables. It's kind of almost like a cottage garden. It's just a mixture of everything. And it's where I do, like, if I want to experiment with something, I want to grow something different, I can always find a spot and I can put it in here. The other 2 plots are strictly vegetables or cover crops. So in the background, you can see in the back rightish, you can see beyond the comfrey, you can see where I have some herbs. I have a lavender and some thyme that I overwintered. To the left, on the opposite side, there's a little green plant that's a boxwood. I just spur of the moment, went to Adams and I saw a boxwood and I just picked it up and threw it in there. I like boxwoods. In the corners, there's mint that's going to be surrounded by alyssum. Last year I had Dutch clover, but it got a little out of hand. It kind of spreads. Like I said, peppers in there. I'm going to throw some eggplants in this plot, and that's about it for this plot as far as vegetables. The beds, I'll either, like this bed here, I'm going to keep I'm going to enrich the soil with a cover crop. In the other bed, I might throw something else in there. I haven't decided. I like to leave something open in May so that when I run down to the nursery and if something catches my eye, I have a spot. I have a little extra room for it. if I fill it up if I plan ahead and buy plants or order plants online now and I get everything filled up, then if I go to a nursery and if something catches my eye, I don't have any room for it. So this way, I have a little bit extra leeway because I'm always buying things, especially in May when this weather gets nice between the beginning of May and the end of May. And I just like to put plants wherever. But again, this is more like eclectic. It's kind of a cottage garden. Everything goes all mixed together.
What are you doing with the Australian peas? When will you'll turn them into the soil? You won't eat any peas, is that right?
I don't know. In a normal, well, let me give you a little backstory. I went to the doctor and I got to radically change my diet and eat a lot more vegetables, which to me is like eating cardboard. I'm not a big vegetable. I like certain vegetables, but I'm going to have to learn to like a lot more, which is good. I mean, I'm expanding my habits instead of eating a lot of bad foods. I got to eat good food. So I might actually see how they grow, and if I get a lot of peas, I might harvest them and just turn over the plants and use the peas for like something, like a soup or something like that. So that's one of the reasons I'm also the other beds I'm gearing those more towards a lot more vegetables because I'm going to grow vegetables for my friends and neighbors, Eileen, Lynn, and myself. So, but I don't know. It really depends how they come out. We'll see. I think the Austrian, the winter peas you can either eat or you can turn over, from what I understand. They're edible, and they're just as good as regular peas, but they're mostly used for a cover crop. So,
Okay.
so we'll see. That's another picture of it. Is that another picture? Yeah, it's another picture. That's like the back end of it. So you can see the lavender. You can see the mint I just put some composted leaf compost on top of that. So that's a really black dirt. And these two little beds here they're kind of worn out. So I'm putting some crimson clover in there as a cover crop to enrich. And on the left here, you can see the mint coming through the compost. The bed in front of it, I'm going to probably put some marigolds. To give it a little bit of color, and then you can see where the metal supports are, and that's where the peppers are going to be. And then somebody gave me some irises a few years ago, and I just stuck them near the compost. I actually literally threw them on the ground, and I was going to transplant them someplace else, and they just rooted themselves, and now they're kind of just that's where they want to live. So
That's my kind of plant. Can I get some?
yeah, those things are tough as nails. You can't kill them. I mean, you literally can't kill them. So, and they're really nice. They're just nice. They're the German bearded irises, and it's beautiful, like purple and white color. So they're really nice. And that's it for that plot. So if we go to the next one real quick, let's see if I picture. Okay, is that the next one? Okay, so this is the one where last year I grew like cornflowers as a cover crop. And I put my peppers in there. My peppers didn't do so well. They do better in the first plot that I was showing you. They don't do so well here. So I'm going to abandon the idea of growing peppers here. So I got really 6 beds here. I got 3 long ones and 3 short ones. The one right in front there, I'm going to put my basil in. The 2 to the side, which are identical, I'm going to either put onions or beans. And then on the left one, I'm going to put patty pan squash and zucchini squash. The middle, I'll put potatoes. And I've been saving like potatoes that my wife would buy, and they'd start to root a little bit. Instead of throwing them in the compost, I'm going to see if I can make use of them because the potato seeds are so expensive in the store. So I'm going to see if I can use them as seed potatoes. And then on the right, I'm either going to put my onions, or if I move my onions to the front, I'll put dried beans, string beans, and if I can squeeze them in, my friend wants me to plant some cucumbers. And I might do that. So we'll see how the room goes on that. So that's going to be all vegetables and a little bit of basil in there, or one little section of basil. And then I just mulched it with a couple weeks ago with some wood chips to keep it nice and neat and keep the weeds down. This plot has a really bad problem with bindweed and thistle. So you really got to put a lot of mulch on the pathways, and you got to be really vigilant with the bindweed, because if not, it creeps in from the grass and it creeps in from the next door neighbor, and it'll just by July or August everything will be covered in bindweed. Okay, so then
Mark, I've got a question. So when
Yeah.
you plant a cover crop, like you put clover in something, do you ever think of like maybe throwing in some beans as well? Sort of let the bean grow out of the can you sort of mix those together?
Yeah, they actually have cover crop mixes that you can put. I tend to stick to like one variety. So if I'm going to grow a cover crop of like clover or buckwheat, I'll just use clover or buckwheat. Once in a while, I'll mix oats with the peas in the winter, like for a winter cover crop. But I tend to stick with like a single type. Like in the winter, in the fall, I tend to put in turnips and radishes, winter peas and oats. In the summer, it's clover and buckwheat. And in the spring, it's well, I usually put in peas in the spring if we get off to an early start, because I can turn them in really quick. Beans, I've seen like, God, they got so many different types of beans you can put in as a cover crop. But
No, Mark, that's not my question. My
oh,
question is, let's say you have a bed where
oh,
you're planting that crimson clover, right?
I
What
think I know
about
what you're talking
what about
But-
planting a couple pole beans in there and putting in a little bit of a
about.
trellis for the pole bean to grow up? Would that work?
That's not a bad idea. That's, you know, something you gave. That's something I'll try. I don't know if I can try it this year, but that's something I'll definitely try. Yeah, that's not a bad idea to mix some. That's not a bad idea at all, actually. I think that's a really good idea to mix the beans in with something like clover or something like that. Yeah, and get the
It-
benefit of both.
In
That-
permaculture, they talk about like a food forest. And so the
Yeah,
lowest layer is like a ground cover, and then you have vining things and you have, bushes and trees and different layers and
yeah.
sort of,
I've tried doing the crimson, the Dutch clover is a walkway. Actually, I had the where the wood chips are a couple of years ago was all white clover. But the problem with that is it attracted the voles over the winter, and there was a terrible vole problem. The voles would just, I mean, then they destroyed the clover. So I was hoping to make it a perennial green pathway, where I walked on just clover instead of wood chips, but the voles just took over and chewed it to pieces. And then, there's tons of voles. So I got abandoned that idea. But Michael, I like that idea a lot, where I plant some beans in there, or I put pole beans and mix it in with the crimson clover or something. That's a great idea. I'm gonna,
Mark,
yeah.
on the beans, we plant bush beans and pole beans, but we have this big trellis. And I've always planted a lot of bush beans, but I plant thick. And really, if you put like, say, 3 rows of bush beans, you're gonna like beans because they're very prolific. But they're good for a while and then they peter out. So I usually put in, a couple of them. But those beans, they put a lot of nitrogen back in, and you could chop them and dig them back into the soil. So you really
Yeah.
could get a crop, plus it'll smother the weeds because it's so thick.
The only issue you're right about that. But the only thing what happened is I've grown beans, like I didn't grow them the last couple of years, but when I grow beans up until a couple of years ago, we had a really bad problem with the Mexican bean beetle. It was my plant was super infested. So instead of putting the beetles, the insects back in the soil, and I yanked the plants out and just put them in a plastic bag. I didn't want to infest anything with it. I was
Okay.
trying to, but
Well,
yeah, I know what you're saying. If I don't get them, I'll definitely turn them into the soil. But
that's a
they're
benefit of having a community garden, is there's a whole group of people to go around and pick bugs.
we're very individual. We're like we rent our plots, and
Right.
people, you get up. I was picking potato beetles off somebody else's plant, and they were like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm trying to help you." And it was
Yeah,
like,
I forgot
okay.
about one more thing is on the cucumbers. I started growing cucumbers on cattle panels.
What's a cattle panel?
They're those wire structures you get over a tractor supply.
I had that in the inside of the hoop house. That was the inside. Those are
Yeah,
cattle.
they're
Oh,
like
okay, okay.
20 by 8 or something.
this is
Okay.
it here. This is it here on the right-hand side. That's
Right.
not a
It
full
didn't
shot.
used to be that expensive.
Oh, okay.
But the thing is, I put two of them in, attach them to a pole, and started growing the cucumbers up there, because cucumbers are all over the place, and you're stepping on them. So I grow the cucumbers on one of those cattle panels, and I get a lot of cucumbers. And you don't.
Do they come straight? Do they grow straighter when you do that?
It's not
because-
that. It's not having the vines all over the place.
Oh, okay.
It's because they grow very long vines, and then the next thing they're in the paths, and you're forever trying
Yep.
to pick them up and stomping on them and so on and
Yep.
so forth. So putting them up vertical works really well.
I'll try that. In
Easy-
fact,
It's easy to do.
I'll go to Tractor Supply. I'll add that in because that would be great because then I can cut down on my space and grow more
That's what I
beans.
mean, space.
Yeah,
It's all about
yeah.
space.
Because I want it, because I, not so much the strings, but the dry beans, I want to grow a ton because I can, save them for over the winter and make scoops with it. Yeah.
So that's my tip for the day.
Thank you very much. That's a good
Welcome.
idea. Yeah,
got-
one of my
you-
diet things is I gotta
you-
eat more beans. So
You've
Oh,
got
this is-
one more slide
Yes.
and then we need to shimmy in place.
okay, really quick. So this is the last plot. This is my wife's and Eileen's. I really take care of it, but it's their plot. This is my tomato patch. I used to rotate tomatoes, but I read what you don't have to, and I made this my tomato patch. This is what I consider a permaculture. I don't do anything to it. All I do is I cover it with a thick layer of straw. In the winter time and in the summertime, I put extra straw when it gets thin. You can see where I prepped it. So all those little openings where the towers are where the tomato plant, the transplants are going to go. I put some peas in there for now so that I can get some nitrogen in the soil for the tomatoes that turn the peas back into the soil when or the pea plants into the soil before I plant the transplants, and sprinkle a little amendments maybe if they need it. I have 2 small beds on either side of it so that I can put dill and marigold as companion plants. The dill is supposed to be really good. It attracts the fly that the parasitic fly that gets into that kills the hornworm, and the marigold is supposed to deter other insects from the smell. I put 16 plants in there. No, none of them are the same. They're all 16 different types. Everything from cherry and plums and grapes to beefsteaks, some old-fashioned type, all mixed together. And that's basically, I have more than enough tomatoes to last. And now that I have more people that are going to be dependent on it should be fine. And that's basically it. So that's kind of my plots for this year. Plus, I got one at home that I neglect because I can't get to it because I'm trying to do these. So, but that's a different story.
I don't know how you do it all, Mark. So I got a question. You mentioned, was it dill deters the hornworms?
Yeah, I read that the dill, anything in the carrot family, the Umbrulaceae family, like dill, caraway. I think carrots might do. Well, you have to let them go to seed though. The parasitic parasitic wasps like the flowers of the plants. So they go to the flowers, and then if the hornworm is there, they'll lay their eggs on the hornworm.
Gotcha.
That's what I read. So I did it last year, and I did have some hornworms, but they were pretty well taken care of by the parasitic flies, wasps. I keep calling them flies, but the parasitic wasps. So hopefully that'll happen this year, because we've been attacked a lot by them lately. And we also have our eyes and ears open for the lantern fly, that Chinese lantern fly.
Yep.
We haven't seen any yet, but they're coming. So we know they're coming. So, and we're an organic garden, so we're not allowed to, everything's got to be, organic treatments, which is kind of difficult with them, I think. So we'll see.
Okay.
Well, folks, we're a little bit behind schedule. We're going to do the shimmy in place. Here we go, shimmy in place. Anyone's new here, it's basically, it's no good for a body to sit around for an hour. So we encourage people to stand up, move around a little bit, and like it for a minute, and we'll all be back. Especially Micah there. We want to see Micah move. That would be ideal. See you soon, folks.
Hey, Mark. Mark,
Back.
can you hear me?
Yes, who's this?
Lena, how you doing?
Oh, Lena. Oh, hi, are you at the meeting too?
I just joined.
Oh, great, okay.
I completely
Oh,
forgot about it before.
I'll let Michael know, or Michael will see you. Nice to see you at the meeting. I'm glad you came.
I know, I just remember. So I saw the email. I say, oh my goodness, let me see what time it was.
Yeah,
So I-
everyone's taking a quick break right now, but they should be back in a minute. And oh.
We're back. We're back. We're starting up soon.
Michael, there's another person who joined. Her name is Lena. She's a gardener at the community garden.
Sweet. Very nice.
I am Mark's neighbors in the community garden.
Wonderful.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And Dorothy, you could always invite some of your friends as well.
Okay, thanks.
So we're firing back up here now, folks. Last week, we had like so many announcements, and this time we're running a little bit slow. You know, the Village of Warwick, we've been helping with the compost drop-off at the farmer's market, and Chad has them going. It's kind of a committee. They really need people to volunteer and help out with that. If anyone is interested in composting, it has so many benefits. You know, for one thing, it prevents methane emissions. For another, it makes for healthy soil. For another, it reduces people's garbage bills. We compost in our backyard, and it's one of the secrets we do. So we're out in the town. Instead of paying for garbage, every couple months or so, we take a single bag over to the county transfer station and pay $1. So instead of my monthly bill for pickup, that's all it. But one secret is you put your compost in your ground, and then you don't have to put it in your trash bag, and you don't have to worry about things rotting there. Anyway, if anyone's interested in composting and helping promote composting around Warwick, we could use you. Please contact me, and I will get you in touch with the people who want to work with you on that. And on Saturday morning, April 29th, there are two events going on. One is a tree planting at the new Arboretum at Wickham Woodlands. There's an Earth Day event at the library from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. And then someone just mentioned, I added this since the meeting began, since tonight's plot began. Too Good to Toss will be May 20th and 21st this year. And I want to mention that's not run by Sustainable Warwick anymore, but we definitely encourage people to do that. It's such a good sustainable thing to get out, and if you've got junk in your house, you can turn it into someone else's treasure.
Mhm.
And if you need treasures from somebody else's junk, you can go find some. It's a wonderful wonderful event. Does anybody else have other announcements that we should be adding? Okay. So let's move on to the next one. Dorothy sent some pictures, and I just wanted to throw a few of them in. Go ahead, Dorothy.
Okay, so my asparagus has started coming up, and I have a purple variety. It's called Purple Passion. And when you cook it, unfortunately, it becomes green. So it looks just like the regular variety. And I think today I had 19 of them up. And the bottom picture is from one of my columnar apples. I have 3 of them. And they're blooming. And then the top right is my Eastern Columbine. And those have started blooming. And they're actually blooming early. They usually bloom just before May 1st. And it coincides usually with the hummingbird migration. But this year they're early. And I haven't seen any hummingbirds yet, nor have I tracked them. I don't know where they are.
Could we go back?
Yes.
Dorothy,
Uh-huh.
you mentioned the columnar apples, apple trees before, I think last week or 2 weeks ago. And
Uh-huh.
I'm just curious, I don't think I've ever heard of them before. How tall does it get? And does it get branchy? It looks like it's not at all.
It's not very branchy. It's from what I understand, they graft a what's that? Lateral branch on to grow onto the rootstock. So it gets some branching, but not a lot. I can get some pictures for next time. I'll have some more pictures and you can see it's not very full, but they
And
get,
I'm assuming that means that there's not a ton of apples that come on it?
no, there's not a ton of apples.
Mhm.
But it's perfect for a small spot.
Yeah.
Right, okay,
Take a
thanks.
lot of space.
Yeah.
They're usually like dwarf, right? They're meant to be used in a small space. Like it's not 30 foot. It's not gonna get
Oh,
30 feet. It's
no,
gonna get
no.
gonna get like 10
I-
feet, 10 or 12 feet, maybe.
Yeah, I actually have a 12, they're in 3 apple trees in a 12-foot long bed. And that's ample space between them.
Mhm.
And as far as height, they don't.
Yeah.
Gosh, I don't remember if it's 10 foot, 8 foot
Yeah.
high. They're not real huge.
And then of course we hear though, they say, oh, this tree will grow to this height and that will grow to that height. And then, maybe the accuracy of that information is not 100%.
Right,
No.
well, the blossom is gorgeous, nice picture.
Oh, thanks.
Mhm.
Chad, maybe you could get her to come visit your garden to do some picture taking.
I know, I just can't, well, I do get some other people help, but my pictures are managed
think-
not to capture any of the beauty of anything.
I think that, yeah, I think the key here, Dorothy's got it, is that up close view. You really capture how beautiful it is.
But even then, I'll get like a car in the background. So like I'll just get the wrong angle.
No, I get lots of them too.
Okay,
Okay,
well,
thanks.
so we didn't have many. One of the things, folks, I want to emphasize, and that is, if you have like a picture or two, especially with a question about it, we really appreciate it. But we're not getting many questions by email this year, but we really like them. The questions in the discussion is good. So the one we proposed for the week was this one: what's your favorite source for seeds? And a couple of people responded, and so I've typed them in. But if we have a few minutes to discuss other people's preferences for where they get their seeds.
Eden, I go to Eden Brothers.
Where's Eden Brothers?
I think they're in one of the Carolinas or oh God.
So you're buying them online, okay.
Yeah, I buy them online because I buy in bulk. I don't buy, like when I buy dill seeds, I don't buy a packet of dill seeds. I buy like an ounce of dill seeds. When
Okay.
I buy marigolds, I buy them like I buy a quarter pound of milk. I'm like, I like, my idea of sowing seeds is throw a ton of them down and let them fight it out. And
As
they'll figure
opposed to
it out.
me, with tweezers.
Yeah, no. Just I used to do that, and it's like, oh my God, I just, like Mother Nature. She scatters the seeds and lets the children figure out who's gonna survive.
I'm kind of in between when I'm starting things indoors. I use big cell trays, and those I get get 1 or 2 seeds in a cell, but those are tomatoes and peppers, and those seeds are so crazy expensive. But I'm big on Johnny's, as I mentioned before. I think
That's another good
they have very good seeds. You can buy in different sizes, because when you have a large garden, sometimes you need, an ounce or a half ounce, not a little seed package. Baker's good. I've used High Mowing, which is up in Vermont and New Hampshire. There are all organic seeds. I've used Territorial Seeds out
They're-
in Oregon. And those, I usually try to stick to those seed companies because my goal is not to pay shipping. So you have to meet minimums.
Gotcha.
I have a question for Dorothy. You've gotten seeds from Prairie Moon Nursery.
Yeah.
Have you grown the yellow coneflower? The
Yes.
native-
Yeah, all right, so there's two of them that are typically called coneflower. One is the
Yeah.
Echinacea paradoxa. That's the one I've grown. And the
Have you
other
done
one,
the
is-
weepy one?
it's kind of weepy, yeah. But there's another one that's also weepy and it's not an echinacea, but they call it a coneflower.
Yeah, right. The native ones they call coneflowers rather than echinacea. I've been like crazed about these for years, and I got some seeds somewhere this year and they haven't come up. And I'm pretty good at seed starting, but you have to cold start them, right?
Most of them you do. I'd have to read the instructions. I've had good luck at the cold stratify. I have had horrible luck at when it's requires to be wet and cold.
Huh.
Those usually, when I do that, they mold.
Mhm.
So I think the next time I try something that requires it to be wet,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna just stick it outside in the fall and see what happens instead of trying to put it in my refrigerator. and
Right.
do it.
Right. No, I had some of those little Mexican hat seeds and they have not come up. I'm gonna try putting some out, just put them in the ground, see what happens.
Yeah.
But I wondered how the germination rate was, because I look at them every winter and go, oh, maybe I'll buy those.
So when seeds don't sprout but become moldy, that's because it's too wet?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what I did wrong. Thank you.
it's a balance, between they can't dry out, but they can't be too wet.
Yeah.
So, but if you really want to start, I've said this before, if you really want to get into starting from seed, buy a heat mat. They're not that expensive. And then you can just put plastic wrap over them, until they germinate,
Mhm.
and maybe get a little thing of lights. It doesn't cost a fortune to put in a setup to get some of your seeds going.
Okay.
Very good. We still have a few minutes left before we close. If other people have questions, we definitely want to get them asked now, especially if they're new gardeners here. Any questions on your mind? But I found these, I like to look at these charts. These are found on AccuWeather.com. And the dark orange lines, those are the average high, and the dark blue is the average low. So you can sort of look and see, well, gosh, remember we had those 2 days that was like really hot.
Mhm.
And also this is the forecast for May, which is a little bit pretty much on average. Yeah. Of course, how good are they? Does everyone know the story about the Native American reservation where this young man had gone off to college and when he came home, they said, gosh, this kid's been to college. We have to give him something to do. And so they put him in charge of the youth recreation for the summer. And one afternoon, he realized he didn't have anything for the kids to do. And he wasn't very old or very wise, but he knew if he didn't have anything for those kids to do, he was going to be in trouble. So he said, well, let's go collect firewood today. And it would just turn out that weekend on the news, he heard that they were predicting there was going to be an early winter this year. And so he said, oh, maybe we should collect firewood every week. So they start collecting firewood, and kids are getting a little bit bored. So they're starting to have these contests of who can stack it the highest and all this stuff. A couple of months later, he's hearing another weather report. Folks, we believe there's going to be an early winter, and also it's going to be a deep winter. He said, wow, maybe we should go to 2 days a week. So anyway, they're collecting all this. They don't have anywhere to stack it. Finally, he gets tired and he calls the weather station. How do you do your long range forecasting? The guys, well, what we do is we watch the Indians. And this year they started collecting the wood earlier than ever, and they're piling it higher than ever. We think it's going to be an early, cold, deep winter.
Oh, that's funny.
Thank you.
So speaking of weather, who thinks there's going to be a freeze between? It's supposed to get cold tonight, but I don't think it's going to freeze. So what do you all think?
Freeze.
Yeah, you think it's going to freeze?
I think it's going to snow in May.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
a couple flurries.
Either way,
the
my
only thing I s-
avocado. Sorry, go ahead. Either way, my
The-
avocado is not happy.
The only reason I say that is because I remember back in 1977, the last time we had 90-degree weather, I was a senior in high school, and I remember taking gym class and it was like May 2nd and we're out in our shorts and it's flurries. It was the only time I ever saw snow in May. So we had that like really unseasonable week of warm weather just before Easter. And I went to a Catholic high school, so we had off and it was beautiful weather. And then 2 weeks later, we have flurries. So I'm just going by my experience.
Okay.
Shannon,
day-
did you mention avocado?
Shannon, did you mention avocado?
I did. I mentioned avocado. My avocado doesn't like the cold.
Where are you growing that?
The pot.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're the master of oh, Michael, should we set up someone for next time who wants to show their
Yes,
individual?
yes, please, let's do that. I'm wondering if Garrett might want to do next week. Not next week, 2 weeks from today. That'll be the second Monday in May.
Michael, thank you for the opportunity, but I'm actually traveling to Scotland for the summer
Nice.
to be able to do that. I'm just getting the going for my parents, and hopefully it's not going to freeze. I put some brassicas in the ground. Maybe I'll cover them at some point. But it's always nice to be here and nice to be asked. Thank you.
What's going on in Scotland?
I have a friend who has a project he wants me to help him with.
Okay. Does anyone else have other questions? If not, we can adjourn early and put 2 minutes back in the time banks. Carmen, you've been here all night. I don't know if you're beginning gardener. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I'm actually where Mark is at, in one of the far corners where you see the beehive. We're the last plot all the way in the corner.
Yeah.
And we actually got the plot late last year. So this year we're planning on we actually got it pretty cleaned out last year. So that's what we were working on. And now we just have to go in and till it and start it all, so any good advice? I know Mark had mentioned that, I think we could connect and he could give us pointers. I like the idea with the straws, just over the whole land, and then, section out areas where I'm gonna plot, put vegetables, flowers. Yeah.
You definitely, I mean, the meeting's almost over, but yeah, definitely, you email me or if you see, I see you in the garden, I'll definitely help you out as much as I can. If you want to give me an email, I mean, if you have my email, you just want to email me and I can give you whatever advice you want. That'd be great.
When are you over there? Do you know? Like
Normally on Saturdays, except this coming weekend, I have a wedding. But normally on Saturday, Sunday, I'm busy all day, so it would be like Saturdays or after work, maybe Thursday or Tuesday. But Saturdays is probably the best date.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Did you plant the onion, Mark, or not yet?
Oh, I went to Hefner's to buy the onions and they didn't have any. I was ready to plant them in the ground on Saturday, but they said next week, so I'll have to wait a couple weeks. It'll still be okay. If I get them in before the second week of May, they should be fine.
Okay.
I got mine online.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Is Micah still there? I want to I have this one last bit for Micah here. It's almost bedtime.
It's almost bedtime.
So thanks everyone for
Thank
joining
you.
the Zoom garden plot, and we hope to see you in a
Thank
couple
you.
weeks. Or not in a
Bye-bye.
couple weeks. It'll be the second week of May and the second and the 4th of May.
MID?
Good night.
Good
night,
night.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.